Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spirit Discussion Panel. Good morning, Rose. Hello, Shane and Irene and Linda. Welcome to the Spirit Discussion Panel. We'll wait for a few minutes before we begin. Just going to wait for everyone to turn up. Can everybody hear me and see me fine? Can you hear me well? Can you see my video? Not getting any responses. Okay. Well, that's the problem with using my laptop. Sometimes it's a little slow. Please bear with me. Thank you. Thank you for checking up on me. Well, today we're going to have a very interesting discussion about Ascension because a few days ago I've actually posted asking for suggestions on topics for the Spirit discussion. And quite a few people asked me to speak about and discuss on Ascension. And I feel it's a great topic because at the end of the day, we're all here to ascend, and as we evolve, we need to understand ourselves better and how we respond to everything, including the universe generally. And I think this would be something that all of you would be able to relate to tonight. So we will be talking about that and Ascension. And I believe that I have actually written down a few points that I felt are, could resonate to a lot of you, and also to me as I evolved. And so I feel that tonight we will be talking on those topics. And I would like to also listen to from all of you, to hear from all of you what you have to say about your personal experiences as you ascended to this point. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. Lynn, please be aware that this is not a live reading sessions. This is a spirit discussion panel where we discuss on different topics on spirituality every week. The live readings are held just once a week in this group. Thank you so much. This is not I do not answer personal questions unless it's related to spirituality. Namaste, Maya. Hello, Ben. Welcome. I'm just going to get my notes ready before I begin. Please excuse me. Well, tonight, as I said, I'm going to be speaking on Ascension. And these are, I believe that tonight you might actually have many questions. And so I'm going to come down with a few points which I believe may apply to you. And if they do, I hope that the information I share tonight will be able to give you your answers. If it doesn't, you can always ask me questions relating to what you feel has been your experience and how you would like to also mention that and share that with everyone tonight. So to begin with, I would like to speak about it. Yes, of course, Mallory. I would be discussing on that tonight. Well, Rose, we are all ascending, Rose. That's one thing I can tell you, that no matter which level of your life you think you're in, or your awareness is, you will always be ascending in some form or the other. Now, the first thing that I like to talk about is what really is Ascension. Now, Ascension has been termed in many ways, even through religions. They talk about Ascension. And we talk about Judgment Day, and they have different ways of interpreting the entire term of ascension. But spirituality does not always have something very different from what the religions preach, but of course there will be some kind of common ground that you can address and you can accept. Now, as far as ascension for a soul is concerned, it does not only happen at the end of your life or at the end of a particular era. It basically is something that you are a part of, whether or not you're aware of. Ascension is when your body, as a soul, you are in a body and you are moving forward every single day. And that involves your spiritual awakening, that involves you living your day-to-day life. Everything is packed into that process of ascension. It is not like, you have to do something in particular to ascend. You understand? It's a part, your entire life is a part of the process. It's a journey. It's not a destination. It's a journey towards ascension. And it's a journey during ascension. So ascension, as we look at it while we're alive here, then what is ascension? How does it apply to you? Before you are even aware of your spirituality, your spiritual journey, there has been many signs that lead you to believe that something is different. Something about you is unique. And you have always, in some way or the other, responded to the way the universe, the planet, the planetary system, and everything moves. And it's based on this that for ages, many civilizations, ancient and modern, have kind of come up with, their own ways of interpreting different signs and symptoms that we face during, say, an eclipse or, an alignment of certain planets, astrology, palmistry, all of these things, anything that's related to science, anything that they've always been able to find some kind of proof to and not, has always affected the soul inside of each one of us in some way or the other. And that's why we call it a symptom. These are symptoms of ascension. I have gathered a few of these symptoms, as we say. So you should be able to relate to a few of them at least. And those that you find that you are having and those of you who do not seem to relate to all of it, but you do have something more to share with us, you can do so later tonight. But right now I'm just going to go down a short list that I've written down. And I would say that ascension symptoms, when you're ascending, when you're spiritually awakened, what happens is when you were in point A, say 5 years ago, you were at a certain vibration. If you had not awakened, spiritually awakened 5 years ago, you did not obviously have all the information that you have today 5 years ago. So you would have been at a different frequency. It's like tuning into a radio channel. You would have been at a different frequency, but you would have lived right here, this particular life. You would have just moved on as you were meant to at that point of time. Today, 5 years later, your frequency has definitely changed, and it's not only based on what you have done with your life, but it also relies on what this universe has gone through. The frequency changes in the planetary system, frequency changes in the environment around you, and the world at large. So it's a whole package. That's why I say that we're all one. We're a part of this universe more than you know, because whatever happens out there affects you in some way or the other, and that's how it's meant to be. Because whether or not you are moving or you feel like you're evolving, you are. And whether or not you're aware that the universe is evolving, it is. So the signs that you cannot necessarily see in you, but you can observe on the outside, are things like the eclipse and the various changes in the frequency, the shifts of consciousness. All of these things in some way or the other would have affected you. And that's why we say that when you move along with a certain frequency and the universe does its own moving along too, sometimes there will be a friction between frequencies. And it's your soul, your body, trying to cope with the change in frequencies, which cause these symptoms, both physical, emotional, and psychological symptoms. And sometimes they also work with you in enhancing a lot of things, and not just affecting you in a negative way, but they do also help you with your ascension process. So some of you may find that, you know, during an eclipse you might particularly feel exhausted, or you might be particularly feeling you know, moody, and you know, you're irritable, and you know, these are various kinds of symptoms, and not everyone has the same symptoms. You know, some people may not be affected by an eclipse at all, and that doesn't mean that they're not evolving. It simply means that they are either at a higher frequency, where that particular eclipse does not seem to affect them, as the frequencies don't really vary much for that individual. But whereas for some, there could be huge changes during an eclipse, or any particular shift in consciousness, like for instance the Lion's Gate, which occurs twice or thrice a year. Now, even during that instance, some particularly even highly evolved souls will face huge symptoms ranging from severe depression to physical ailments that leave them completely immobile for weeks. So here's my list. I've just gathered a few of them. I would like to go through them. So nice to see all of you again. Yes, it's a daily process. I have no idea, Irene. I wish I could help you with that. But I'm sure that you can share this video maybe on your timeline or something where people can see, because this is an open group, so anyone can see all of the activity that's going on inside of this group, even if they're not a member. So here are some of the common symptoms that I've noticed. All right, people do have digestive issues, you know, gastrointestinal issues, loss of appetite, and unexplained nausea. Now, these are sometimes I have been personally facing a lot of these intestinal issues, digestive issues for many years. And I believe it's my body's way of coping with a lot of changes, because this, again, the environment that I'm in may not necessarily be on the same frequency that I am as a soul. And this being my last incarnation, which also in a way contributes to the way you respond to various activities, you know, that happens with the planetary system and your ascension process. You will respond differently. If, for instance, you are a younger soul, you will be affected more by even slight changes, like you know, eclipse. You might have issues with a lot of things in your body, unexplained mostly. Sometimes you may suddenly have flu symptoms. You would feel like you're falling sick. That's one of the things I've written down. Change in body temperature. You know, you may feel like you cannot deal with, you know, you're intolerable to heat or cold suddenly, when you used to be just fine earlier. That is also a sign of ascension, where your body is trying to catch up with the changes as it goes along. And of course, for those of you who are, you know, opening your third eye and using your gifts more often, or learning how to use your gifts, opening your third eye in the crown chakra, those of you who have issues with throat chakra and up, most of the times it's because you do have what I call it as you're prone to connecting more. You're prone to getting connected to the higher dimensions, the other side. And therefore, when you open up, they become so sensitive to the changes that you end up having sinus issues and migraines and dizziness. And this is because as you move on up, you know, the crown chakra and the third eye are the first few chakras that get affected by the change in frequencies. Well, the others, as far as the physical issues are concerned, this is what I'm getting. But when it goes to dieting, your appetite, there have been people who change over to new diets because they no longer feel like they want to eat certain kinds of food. Suddenly, someone who's been eating meat may no longer feel any appetite for meat or certain kind of food. So a change in lifestyle could be possible. So if you suddenly find yourself not wanting to eat something that you've been probably eating your whole life, you know, it's best to listen to your body. Instead, instead of letting, forcing yourself to go, stick to the same food anyway, because what will happen is most likely you will end up falling sick. You won't be able to digest the food that you have been eating all the while. As you move on up, your tolerance for meat and consuming anything that is of life other than plants will affect you at some point of time. So the best thing to do would be to go with the flow. Listen to yourself, listen to your body, embrace it as a sacred part of you, and accept the fact that ascension is bound to happen to each and every one of us, and the individual journey totally is yours, to keep, to work with. And I would say that the best thing to do would be to listen to yourself more than others, because as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of information out there about how you should go vegan and you should do this and you should do that if you want to have a more spiritual path, something that's much more intense and experience. But I would say that, for each one of us, our experience varies, and we should respect that. There is no need to push everybody into something just because you feel it's great for you. Okay? Oh yeah, well, I would say that, a lot of us have these allergies. I do too. And for me, I'm still sniffing, though it's been 3 weeks, and this is not my cold, this is my sinus reacting. And there is nothing I can do about it, because I see the changes happening around me, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's like we just have to live with it, just learn how to live with it, go along with it, because sometimes if it's just purely physical, you could do something about it. And I'm trying not to rely on medication. So don't keep relying on medication. Go for a more natural remedy to sort your issues out. That is something I would recommend. Okay? The other thing I wanted to say is you get more sensitive to smell. You get strange smells from time to time that come out of nowhere. And that's also one of the spiritual gifts, actually, where you can actually smell or taste things that you are not really physically in connection with. You may suddenly smell something in the room that has no connection to anything whatsoever. A particular perfume or smoke, anything that doesn't really have any logical explanation to it. So you will realize that you're opening up, to new changes, to new awareness. The awareness in you will rise over time. And there is no need to be alarmed or panic or fear, because these are symptoms that a lot of us go through. And if you have issues understanding them, you can always speak to like-minded people. There's a spiritual community where all of you can come in together and have a conversation like in groups like this. I'm sure you will find other people who are going through something similar, which will be offering a lot of comfort to you. Okay? And then, of course, the part where, as far as the third eye is concerned, you will start to feel like you can actually, there might be tingling or prickly feelings around your forehead, pressure around the forehead. Again, that will somehow trigger migraines or even sinusitis. And then you have the third eye, where the third eye will have, it's not the third eye, sorry, the physical eyes. Your physical eyes will actually, some of you may find that you tend to get watery all the time, you start tearing up. And you may also find that your vision may not be as perfect. Sometimes it just gets blurry, sometimes it gets really clear. And then on certain days, it starts to burn. These are all changes in the environment that sometimes you cannot just go to a pharmacy, or you cannot just go to a doctor and find a cure for. And there are also some people who complain about tinnitus, which is basically a constant ringing in the ear. Now I've got some news for you, for those of you who think that you've got some medical problem. I'm not saying that I have found a solution to all your medical problems relating to your ear. I'm just saying that the ringing in the ears is something that all of us have. For some of us, it's louder than the other, depending on your ascension. And that ringing in the ear is constant, and it can at some point be distracting. And then you get used to it, which is what I'm doing. I'm getting used to hearing this loud ringing in my ears for years and years. But I know that it's not a physical problem, but it's more of because of my ascension. And the reason why I can also hear the spirit world clearer than most people can is because I've accepted that as a part of my spiritual ascension. Okay, so it's basically understanding. Observe yourself when you're having a symptom. Observe it. Don't panic, or don't just pass it off as just another physical ailment. It's not. You have to observe it. That's how you learn. Never accept things blindly, even spirituality, even things that your most trusted spiritual guide or friend or anyone tells you, unless it resonates with you. Asking questions is the best way to learn. And I feel that the reason why I never tell people that you have to listen and believe everything I say is because I feel that if it may not resonate with you, you don't really have to take everything I say. It's not written in stone, but I'm just sharing all the information that I have accumulated, gathered, learned, and shared over many years. Okay? And, well, there's more. Change in sleep patterns. I think a lot of you would be able to relate to this because I've had insomnia since I was 14 or 15 years old. Never could be treated for it because it affects my gifts. But insomnia has been one of my biggest problems, and I think a lot of you can relate to that, where you cannot sleep when you have to sleep, when you want to sleep, and you end up feeling exhausted or lethargic throughout the day, and sleep patterns change. You go off without proper sleep for weeks, or you end up sleeping more than you should. You get totally tired and your body refuses to cooperate with you. That is also another ascension symptom. The reason why we have problems with sleep is because when we sleep, the astral body immediately, after a point of time, leaves your physical body, and you're basically doing whatever you have to on the other side while you're sleeping. This is a normal process for each one of us, whether we are aware of it or not, and that's why you have dreams at night of different places and different memories and people. So when I say the ascension process involves this, where you go up without sleep, it means that you're actually not able to keep up with this dimension's sense of timing. It means that your soul doesn't think that you require sleep. As your frequency rises, your body is trying to fight the need to sleep, fight the need to eat, you see, because on the other side, you don't do either of them. Unless you really want to, you can't sleep. I've seen spirits, I've seen my guides sleep, but they sleep because it helps them to relax, not because they're sleepy or tired. On the other hand, they eat because they want to eat. They want to taste food. They want to have a taste of life, not because they're hungry. So the body that you have right now, as you ascend, you're moving slowly away from this dimension. And as you move slowly away from this dimension, your basic needs change. Everything that you've ever known will slowly start changing to fit into the next dimension. You get the point? So as you move up, what happens is you don't just disappear, but you pretty much try to find a balance between your ascension and the needs of your roles here as people. Okay? So you will have a lot of changes in your sleep patterns. They'll be very sporadic. One day you'll be getting up in the middle of the night for no reason. And the next you'll be getting up at a particular time, like 3 a.m. in the morning every night for 1 week. And you don't know why you're awake at 3 a.m. in the morning. Sometimes I would say that there's a particular reason, maybe one of your guides or someone from the other side who's lost a loved one, who's passed away, may want to talk to you. There are a lot of things we do that we're not even aware of. Even when you're sleeping, sometimes you wake up in the morning and you feel like you haven't slept a wink, but you have slept. That's because you've been busy on the other side as a soul. So how can you stop that? Well, I would say that it's your soul's decision to do that. So you will come around. Don't worry about being sleepless and exhausted. You will come around. There will be a change of patterns. There will be a change of, sleep and dietary patterns, which will settle you in, and you will find your way around. That's what everybody does at some point of time. That's also part of your process here. Okay? And, well, then we have Then we move on from the physical parts. Oh yes, we have aches and pains, tensions and soreness. Um, we tend to be more clumsy. You tend to become more clumsy, become more tired, and the sense of dreading. Like you don't really feel like doing anything anymore, and even daily activities. You don't really feel enthusiastic, and all of these signs. And then there's one that I want to talk about. Emotional frustrations. Yes, sometimes you may feel frustrated. You feel like you're absorbing a lot of the energy from other people. In this case of empaths, for instance, when you end up crying for no reason, you get too emotional around an eclipse. If you get too, and you don't seem to find a reason, depression, anxiety, a lot of people who suffer from these things find that their sense of the sensitivity goes way up, especially when there's a shift in the consciousness. This is again something that a lot of us struggled with, myself included. And I feel that the best thing to do at those times is don't be hard with yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Understand that, there is a right time for everything. And what I do when I don't feel like doing anything in particular, if I'm going through a very low phase, is I would try and include less activities that are stressful and add more in where I'm relaxed. Don't expect yourself to be the same through and through 365 days a year. Be kind to yourself. Even if you need to excuse yourself from work for a day to recover from this, please do so. The eclipse doesn't come around often enough, So I would say that all of these, like hair, yes, the texture in your hair, other physical conditions that I've noticed are the way your hair, and you can have increased hair fall, or the nails, your textures in your body, your skin, the way it responds to different kinds of stimulation. Sometimes it may not respond well to certain climatic conditions, and then you wouldn't know why you suddenly feel so sick during a particularly warm weather when there's no reason for you to fall sick. And other things that I've noticed is, give me a moment here. The inability to focus on a lot of things. That's one of the other things that I've seen that particularly affect a lot of people. Is suddenly they lose the lack of enthusiasm. They lose their enthusiasm for life itself. You don't seem like you want to do anything. Suddenly you don't have the zest to do even the things that you used to enjoy. I love, for instance, I love what I do. I really, really do. I'm very passionate about my work. I think a lot of you know that. But there are days when I don't even feel like doing anything. Like I just wouldn't want to do anything. I wouldn't want to sit around for a reading. I wouldn't want to sit around for a session. I wouldn't want to sit around for anything, And I would take my time out to basically question myself, like, why do you even feel this way? You're like, you just love this job. You love what you're doing. Why do you feel different today? And I would realize that it comes around a particular phase, maybe an eclipse, maybe a shift in consciousness, maybe it's the lion's gate that's open. There will always be something that will connect you. Now, of course, there's a whole lot of information in the spiritual community where a lot of people will talk about a particular eclipse and how it affects them and so on and so forth. So what I would like to say is, just because you have been having a casual headache for 5 days and you're trying to get rid of it, and then it's probably because of some other reason, it doesn't mean that you automatically fall under that category. So don't allow people's way of responding to certain shifts in consciousness affect you unless you yourself identify with it. Okay? I don't want you to think that every time something happens to your body or your mind, it is immediately connected to a particular change in the frequency, the consciousness. It may be or may not be. I'm giving you the symptoms because I want you to understand that these are things that commonly happen to a lot of people around the change when they're ascending. But it does not mean that it has to be that. All right? Well, when you talk about, now I'm going to talk about emotional and psychological changes. But before that, I would like to know if you have any questions for me. Sophia, well, we're talking about incarnations. I would say it basically you need to have a past life regression in order to find that out. Yes. Well, yeah, sometimes these symptoms can get pretty intense. You know, like some people the ringing in the ears can get annoying for some. Whereas for me, I've been able to tolerate it, I would say. Yeah, well, sounds, Sarah Labra. It's very sensitive. Yes, sometimes you just feel annoyed by things which are very, especially these, if you notice, some people who have special needs, like they're autistic and dyslexic. Some of them have this tendency to get very, very sensitive. They're very sensitive to sound and certain kinds of stimulation in the environment, and but that is like constant for most of them, and you never understand it until you face it yourself. And my son's autistic. He's 10 years old and he's autistic, and I realize that sometimes some certain sounds and smells can be so annoying. Some days, not all days, but I was able to at least empathize with him to understand how he feels about certain kinds of sounds or smells, you know. And if it was annoying for me, can't even imagine how it would be for him, you know. Whereas if he hears something loud, he has to immediately block his ears up. So I would say that it's something that we all adjust to most of the times because there is really no cure for these symptoms. You just have to accept the information that I give, that you share, would be able to help you to move along with a better understanding of what's happening to you and respecting yourself through this process. Okay? Do you have any further questions to ask me? I don't see any more comments, so I'm wondering if it's frozen. Can everybody see me? I'm hoping the video didn't freeze because it works fine from my end.